US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson was fired by Donald Trump, and like everything else that he does, the US President did the firing on Twitter, which shows the way how dysfunctional this White House has been and how chaotic the administration under Trump has been ever since he came in January 2017. There's been a lot of confusion about the circumstances of Rex Tillerson's firing. The White House has suggested that he was informed on Friday that he was going to be removed, but he himself has said that he wasn't aware of the reasons why this was happening and that he hadn't spoken to Trump. But it's very clear that the two men had clashed several times over the past year on foreign policy issues, on subjects such as the Iran nuclear deal and the way of dealing with North Korea's nuclear program. There have been reports that President Trump is preparing for talks with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and that he wants a team that will back him up in his position. Clearly, there have been indications in the past that Rex Tillerson didn't have the same views as Donald Trump on the North Korean issue. As Trump has pointed out, he wanted somebody who would be on the same wavelength as him, and he thinks Mike Pompeo, the former CIA chief, is the right man for the job. When Rex Tillerson was appointed, there was a lot of praise for the decision because he, as the head of ExxonMobil, had a lot of expertise in running a big corporation, and there were some who thought that expertise would help him in the State Department. But clearly that hasn't been the case. 60% of long-term career diplomats in the US Foreign Service have quit since he took over, and new applications have fallen by half. So clearly, there are a lot of vacant slots in the State Department. Tillerson hasn't appointed ambassadors to key countries such as Saudi Arabia and South Korea. And most people say that he left the State Department in a bigger mess than it was in when he came in. Clearly, a lot of people think he's been a disaster for US foreign policy. There are also a lot of concerns about Mike Pompeo, who is going to move from the CIA to the State Department. There are some people who think he has displayed Islamophobic tendencies in the past. And clearly the jury is going to be out till we see how he functions in the State Department. Soon after the firing of Rex Tillerson was announced on Twitter by President Trump, there was a joke that went around that the White House would soon replace one of its entrances with a revolving door. That's a sort of a joke on how many people have been fired or have quit since Trump became the president. We've had some really big names leaving the White House, including National Security Advisor Mike Flynn, Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, Chief Economic Advisor Gary Cohn, Chief Strategist Steve Bannon, Communications Director Hope Hicks. Now remember, these are all people who were very, very close to Trump. They were considered part of his inner circle. These were people he trusted, and yet most of them have not managed to last a very long time in this White House. Clearly, Mr. Trump has not been able to, enunciate some sort of a clear foreign policy stance. There is a lot of confusion and a lot of concern about most of the decisions he's made with regard to trade, with regard to foreign policy. And if there is one word that has summed up this White House, it has been chaotic. All eyes now are on the much-awaited meeting between President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. This is clearly something that will have a lot of implications, including the nuclear tensions between US and North Korea, something that has worried the entire world community for months now. And if President Trump botches up that meeting, then even getting in a new Secretary of State to help him out will not be good enough. It will spell possibly disaster for his foreign policy stance. The President of the United States is usually known as the most powerful man in the world. But ever since Donald Trump entered the White House, the US has been ceding its leading position in world affairs to countries such as China and Russia. If the situation persists in this way, by the time Donald Trump leaves the White House, the US may no longer be a key player on the world stage.